Mishkan Tefillah because the gold one doesn't have a Torah service, and there will be one tonight, so we'll be using both of them. And then there was a handout on the little round table. I don't know if you noticed that. You might want to get that as well. So we're going to start on page 18 of this prayer book. Shabbat Shalom to everyone here and to everyone watching on the live stream. We'll begin with Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat. Again, it's on page 18 in the little gold Elul prayer book. We're still in the month of Elul as we prepare for the coming days of awe. Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon ulezamer l'shimcha elyon lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha b'leilot Alei asor ve'aleina ve'alei higayon bechinot Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai ulezamer l'shimcha elyon ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. And now back to page 3 for Hine Matovu Manaim on the bottom of the page. Hine Matovu Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matovu Manaim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov U'Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. We continue on page 7. A time for turning. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green to red and orange. The birds are beginning to turn and are heading once more toward the south. The animals are beginning to turn to storing their food for the winter. For leaves, birds, and animals, turning comes instinctively, but for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will for us to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we've been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing face. It means starting all over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means recognizing that we have the ability to change. These things are terribly hard to do, but unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. God help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Turn us around and bring us back toward you. Revive our lives as at the beginning, and turn us toward each other, for in isolation there is no life. We continue on page 17. O high and mighty ones, glory and strength are not yours. They belong to another, to the unsayable name. Offer what you have to that holiness. We continue on page 22 as we rise for Reader's Kaddish, Chatzi Kaddish. I'm sorry, that was wrong. It's Lachado D, so you can remain seated until the last stanza. This little book is not as familiar to me as the blue one. Sorry. Lachado D. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lechado di likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekavela. Lechado di likrat kala Pnei Shabbat nekabela, Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el hamiyuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shem u'letiferet v'litila. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor haveracha, Merosh mikedem, Nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hidoreri, Ki va'orech kumi ori, Uri, shir daberi, Kavod Adonai alai nigla. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Now we rise for that last verse. Face the entrance of the room as we welcome in the Shabbat bride. Bo'i v'shalom ma'ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Bo'i chala, Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please remain standing as we turn to page 24 for Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba, Be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon, Uvechaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala, Uvizman kari v'meru, Amen. Yehi Shemei Rabba mevarach, Le'alam ul'almei amaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru. Amen. At the bottom of 25. Will you seek afar off? You surely come back at last in the things best known to you, finding the best, or as good as the best, happiness, knowledge, not in another place, but this place, not for another hour, but this hour. page 26. Baruch hu et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach le'olam va'ed. Page 28, together in the English for Ma'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk, as your wisdom opens the gates of night. Your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars, arrayed across the sky, reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception. Living, eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. And we join in the Hebrew on page 30. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Hukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadata, Otanu limadata. Aken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochbeinu, Kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev amo Yisrael, Ohev amo Yisrael. Page 32. This is the path of wisdom. How beautiful to dwell together in unity. This is the teaching of truth together. Have we not all one parent? Did not one God create us? This is the call from Sinai. There shall be one law for the citizen and the stranger in your midst. This is the gift of Torah. Adonai is our God. Adonai is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. We are seated, page 35. At the bottom of the page, a free rendition of Ve'ahavta. Love the strangers among you, love them as yourself. See yourself in their eyes. With your own hands, bind up their wounds. Teach your children to unlock their hearts and share their wealth. Inscribe words of welcome at your gates and ports of entry, for you have been strangers in every corner of the world. Page 36. Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, lihiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 41. When Israel went forth from Egypt, we went forth. Behind us now the speech of strangers, ahead the freedom to speak our own words and discover the holy. Witnessing this, the great sea fled, the river changed its course, the mountains danced like rams and the hills like sheep. Sea, river, and mountains, what has become of you? Why flee? Change course. Why dance like rams and sheep? Together, stand in awe, all the earth. The God of Jacob turns rock to water, stone to a gushing stream. Life changes course in an instant. Sing from the heart, awaken to life's wonders. And on the facing page, we join in Michamocha. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh vela, Nora tehilot oseh vela. Malchutecha rahu vanecha, Bokea yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. As it is written, Adonai will save Jacob and redeem him from one stronger than himself. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Page 45. Responsively by paragraph. Fall of evening, darkness all around us. The 3-year-old wakes up crying, sees monsters in the shadows, and we lie awake for hours dreading monsters that are real. Eventually, you learn there are no charmed lives, no special immunity from suffering and loss. We cannot pray for safety, only for the strength to endure. So let us build a canopy while we can, for the darkness falls on all of us. There is no shelter from the shadows, no protection from the terrors of night, nothing but the warmth of a loving touch, comforting reminder you are not alone. Back to page 42 for the Chatimah, the closing sentence of this prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, hapolei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 46. V'shamru v'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, ot hi le'olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, ot hi le'olam. V'shamru v'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash. V'shamru v'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat ledorotam berit olam. We turn now to pages 48 and 49 as we rise and take a moment to contemplate the meditations on these two pages as we prepare for tefillah or your own private meditations. We join together in chanting on page 50. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Libnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Be'ezrat Sarah. Continuing with the chanting on 52. Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia, Morid hatal, Mechalkel chaim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim, Virofech holim, Umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishene afar, mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye HaKol. On page 55, we remain standing. I'm going to read this reading, I Am a Man. Usually we don't use the male language in the prayer book, but this is a poem that was written by someone, and he was a man, and it was chosen to mirror the image of the prayer on page 54 about God's holiness. So at the bottom of the page it says this poem, I Am a Man, is by Octavio Paz, and it's been translated from the Spanish. It's a different perspective on holiness. A poet's contemplation of the night sky is both inspiring and humbling, reminding him of human insignificance. Yet his vision of the stars returns him to the meaning of his own life and the realization that he, and every human being, is the unique expression of a purpose greater than the self. So, I am a man. Little do I last, and the night is enormous. But I look up, the stars right. Unknowing, I understand. I too am written. And at this very moment, someone spells me out. And on the facing page, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We are seated. Continue on 61. A meditation before the Chatima of the Shabbat blessing. God breathed into us a living soul, the gifts of respiration, inspiration, aspiration. May we sanctify this day by breathing deeply, attentive to all gifts. We taste the sweetness of the world that could be, So let's take a deep cleansing breath before we say the final blessing on the facing page. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat. We continue on 62. Eternal our God, your people Israel yearns for your favor. Receive their prayer with loving acceptance, and may you always desire your people's worship. Divine One, close to all who call upon you, bring your grace and presence near to those who serve you. Pour forth your Spirit on us. Together at the bottom of the page. May a memory of us ascend and come before you. God of all ages, together with the memories of our ancestors, of Jerusalem, your holy city, and of your people, the family of Israel. Oh, it's not the first day of the month of Elul, but on this day of the month of Elul, may we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and peace. And on 64, Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato l'tzion. Page 66. Responsively, God who is ours, God of all generations, to you we are grateful forever, rock and protector of our lives. Your saving power endures from age to age. We thank you and tell the tale of your praise, your power in our lives, your caring for our souls, the constant miracle of your kindness. Morning, noon, and night, we call you goodness, for your compassion never ends. We call you mercy, for your love has no limit. We call you hope, now and for all time. Page 68. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lahodot. Page 71. Instead of singing Shalom Rav, the Kavanah about Shalom from the Elul Psalms. I say, not now, my God, not in the middle of the journey. Do not carry me off. Your years outlast all generations. In some distant past, you laid the earth's foundation. Heaven itself is the work of your hands. They will vanish, but you endure. Your years never end. The children of those who serve you, may they live in peace. And their children who live in your presence, may they endure. And on the facing page, Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, bashalom. We take this time for silent prayer and meditation. Page 74. Oh, say shalom, shalom, dimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. יעשה שלום לנו ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן ועל כל ישראל And now we'll turn to the blue prayer books for the Torah service, page 362. And Ben, I need someone for an aliyah this Shabbat. Would you help me out? Thank you. 362, we rise as we join in singing Ein Kamocha. Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai ve'ein kema'asecha Malchutcha malchut kol olamim Umemshaltecha bechol dor vador Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitain Adonai evarech et amo v'shalom. Page 364. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah Ki mitzion teitzei Torah Udvar Adonai Mirushalayim. And this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kdusha to. Together on 366. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Together in English. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God. Adonai is one. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlul Adonai iti, Uneromema Shemo Yachdav. Lecha Adonai Hagadula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Ki chol v'shamayim uva'aretz Ki chol v'shamayim uva'aretz Lecha Adonai Hamamlacha ve'amit na'aseh lechol erosh Ki chol v'shamayim uva'aretz Ki chol v'shamayim uva'aretz Lecha Adonai hamamlacha ve'amit na'aseh lechol erosh. Please be seated. Get your card out here. You can see by the very one-sided nature of how the Torah is rolled up that we're coming very close to the end. This week's Torah portion is not the last, but it's close to the end, and we have a lot of holidays on Shabbat this year. So we won't actually be reading the very last Torah portion for a couple of weeks. But this week's Torah portion is Nitzavim Vayelech, and I'm going to read from the Vayelech section. So if you'd like to follow along, that's page 1173 in the red Eitz Chaim Humash, and 887 in the blue Hertz Humash. And I meant to put out more Humashim today. I took away some prayer books and then I forgot to put the Humashim in. But if there isn't one nearby, you can always go out in the hall and grab one. So I'm reading from the very beginning of Torah portion Vayelech, and in it we learn that this is the moment when Moses, in front of the people, commissions Joshua to be his successor. So we already know that Joshua has been chosen, but this is the moment where at the very beginning, if you read the English, you can see that Moses says, I can't do it anymore. I'm 120 years old, and I can't come and go anymore. So this is the moment. And he brings Joshua in front of the people, and he promises him that under his leadership, the enemies will be destroyed, and that God will be with him. And among the things that he says in front of the people is the famous words chazak ve'amatz, which I think some of us are familiar with because it means be strong and courageous, and it's something that we still use those words in Jewish life today. So I will be reading verses 1 through 8, I believe. And we call to the Torah for the Aliyah Ben Goldstein. Ya'amot Binyamin Hanan Ben Yisachar Shmuel Ben Mashi.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamivorach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Notein HaTorah.
Amen. Vayelach Moshe Vayedaber et ha'devarim ha'ele el kol Yisrael. ויאמר עליהם בין 120 שנה אנוכי היום לא אוכל עוד לצאת ולבוא. ואדוני אמר אלי לא תעבור את הירדן הזה. אדוני אלוהיך הוא עבר לפניך. הוא ישמיד את הגויים האלה מלפניך, וירשתם יהושע. הוא עובר לפניך כאשר דיבר אדוני. ויעשה אדוני להם כאשר עשה לסיחון ולעוג מלכי האמורי ולארצם אשר השמיד אותם ונתנם אדוני לפניכם ועשיתם להם ככל המצווה אשר ציוויתי אתכם. חזקו ואמצו, אל תראו ואל תארצו מפניהם, כי אדוני אלוהיך הוא ההולך עמך, לא יפך ולא יעזבך. ויקרא משה להושע, ויאמר אליו לעיני כל ישראל, חזק ואמץ, כי אתה תבוא את העם הזה אל הארץ אשר נשבע אדוני לאבותם לתת להם, ואתה תנחילנה אותם. ואדוני הוא ההולך לפניך, הוא יהיה עמך, לא ירפך ולא יעזבך, לא תירא ולא תחת.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat amet v'chayei olam natah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher koach. We rise as we lift the Torah. Bezot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Let me just fix that a little bit. There. I'm going to put the crowns on just before we go to the ark so they don't hit the wall. Please be seated. We continue with the Mishaberach for those in need of healing in the blue book. You can find it on 371. As we say the Mishaberach this Shabbat, we think of congregation members who are in need of healing. Naomi Weissman-Zabler, Naomi bat Shraga Feivel Miriam, Barney Lavin, Baruch Eliyahu ben Avraham v'Sarah, William Jewel Yisrael ben Avraham v'Sarah, Lisa Alexander, Leah Michal bat Rezel Chaya, Skelly Warren, Yaakov ben Yaakov, Stephen St. Amand, Chagai mi Beit Avraham v'Sarah. I've also been asked to mention Laura Domash, David's sister. If there are others you would like to mention who are in need of healing, please do so at this time. Max, okay. Any others? We also pray for healing for those who struggle against addiction and alcoholism and mental illness, and we pray for courage for those in recovery. We join together praying for refuah shlema, a complete recovery. Mi shebeirach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. We continue now with the Haftarah, and we call upon Jonah Arbit to read it for us. If you'd like to follow along in the Red Eitz Chaim Chumash, he'll be reading on page 1181, and in the Hertz, the Blue Chumash, right at the top of 884. This is the last of 7 Haftarot of comfort or consolation that we read after the sad holiday of Tisha B'Av, when we commemorate the destruction of the temple and other tragedies in Jewish history. So after that, we read these very uplifting messages from the second Isaiah, who lived during the return of the people of Israel from their captivity in Babylon. And in the section that Jonah is going to read here, it's a very uplifting statement about Jerusalem and how God and the people of Israel and God and the land of Israel are in like a spousal relationship, and it's almost like they're having a honeymoon now, if you will. So the blessings are in the prayer book. Let me get that out for you. I think it's 372. Let's see. Baruch atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Melech
melech haolam asher bahar b'ni'im tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hana'amarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Haboher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'Vinvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. For the sake of Zion, I will not be silent. For the sake of Jerusalem, I will not be still, till her victory emerge resplendent and her triumph like a flaming torch. Nations shall see your victory, and every king your majesty, and you shall be called by a new name, which the Lord himself shall bestow. You shall be a glorious crown in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the palm of your God. Never more shall you be called forsaken, nor shall your land be called desolate, but you shall be called, I delight in her, in your land espoused. For the Lord takes delight in you, and your land shall be espoused. As a youth espouses a maiden, your sons shall espouse you. And as a bridegroom rejoices over his bride, so will your God rejoice over you.
Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam surchol haolamim Sadiq b'chol hadorot, Ha'el ha'ne'eman, ha'omer v'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayim, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah v'al v'havodah, v'al ha'nevi'im, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'limnuha, Likavod u'letifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la uvarhim ota yitbarach shimcha befi kol hai tamid leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh
Shabbat. Wow, that was impressive. It came back,
Yeah.
right? Asher koach to you.
Thank you.
We now return the Torah to the Ark as we turn to page 374, and we rise. Hodo al eretz v'shamayim vayarem keren le'amo lechila lechol chasidav libnei Yisrael am kirovo. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Page 374. For I have given you good instruction. Do not abandon my Torah. Eitz chayim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomecha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh, Chadesh Yameinu, Chadesh Yameinu Kikedem. Shkoach. Please be seated. In more than one place in this week's parashah, or Torah portion, the concept of Moses' words being put into writing is mentioned. In Deuteronomy 31, we read, and this is just after the section I read tonight in the Hebrew, Moses wrote down this teaching and gave it to the priests, sons of Levi, who carried the ark of the Lord of the covenant, and to all the elders of Israel. And then later in the same chapter, the people are told to write down a poem that Moses would recite. The poem is from the next Torah portion. Inscribing on a scroll the words of oral recitation was brand new technology in the time of the Torah. Now, new technologies come around every generation, and sometimes in our world it seems like every nanosecond. How do we respond to new technology? Are we to embrace it eagerly, or should we be wary of it and be concerned that it will fundamentally change us and our society for the worse? At this particular moment in time, AI, artificial intelligence, is the primary technology that is worrying educators, security experts, and others. And even in the Jewish world, where we still cherish and safeguard the very ancient technology of chanting text from a hand-inscribed scroll, experts are grappling with how AI might permanently alter or harm Judaism. I listened to a podcast recently in which one of the people who runs Sefaria was interviewed about AI and Jewish learning. And just a quick side note about Sefaria. Folks who go to Torah study know that I use Sefaria to show the section we're reading on the screen of the particular passage we're studying. But it's much more than an online Torah. It's really a digital library of Jewish texts, including the entire Bible, Talmud, Jewish prayers, alongside sources in philosophy, mysticism, Jewish law, and newer works. All these texts are uploaded in their original language, usually Hebrew or Aramaic, and also translated into English, and anyone can access it. And there is much more that one can do with Sefaria, such as create your own source sheet when preparing to teach a class, which I did last year for our current issues class. And yes, I have the app, and I can access it on my phone. Imagine that. Now back to the podcast. It was an interview with the CLO, Chief Learning Officer of Sefaria, Rabbi Sarah Wolkenfeld, who was asked at the outset, does it minimize Torah to read it online and not from a book? In answering this, Sarah reminded folks that every time a new technology is introduced to Jewish life, people are worried that it will somehow interfere with the classical concept of Talmud Torah, the study of Torah. And Talmud Torah, she says, has always survived and even thrived as new technologies have been introduced. Wolkenfeld cites the act of committing oral recitation to writing as the earliest example of a new communication technology. In spite of the mention of Moses writing down, or Moses' utterances being written down in Deuteronomy, Wolkenfeld reminds us that the tradition of passing on Torah and its interpretation continued to be almost entirely oral tradition until the time of the Mishnah. And in fact, still today, oftentimes the Talmud is referred to as the oral law. Only in the year 200 did the rabbis of the Mishnah commit their oral discussions to writing, and it was very controversial at the time. There was worry that the creativity and elasticity of the process of making Jewish law through the debate of the sages would be lost, and Judaism would never be the same again. But in a moment of crisis, the failure of the Bar Kokhba rebellion against Rome in the 2nd century CE, when it was feared that all that had gone before in the world of debate and discussion of Jewish ideas would be lost if it wasn't written down, because the Jews were going to be scattered. And so it was done. And this is the beginning of what we know today as the vast compendium of Jewish law, known as the Talmud, that really is the basis of all of Jewish life today. Far from ruining Judaism, the new technology actually saved it. Now, the same could be said of the printing press, which was also feared, and not only by Jews. Scholars and sages, priests and rabbis worried if mass copies of written materials could be made available, it could get into the hands of people who wouldn't understand it properly. The official doctrine of interpretation might be threatened. But we know that the printing press actually democratized learning and made it possible for more people to become educated and participate in the process of learning. Think of all the other technologies related to sharing texts that followed: translation into the vernacular, mass media, online search engines, and more. Each time one of these technologies was applied to religious texts or other highly prized materials like academic works, the guardians of those materials worried. In fact, Sarah Wolkenfeld shares that when Sefaria was launched in 2011, some rabbis objected to it. She didn't elaborate on the objections in the podcast, but we can imagine them. If all the great works of the historical Jewish library were made available to the masses online, Jewish or not, scholarly or pedestrian, what would become of them? Would they be misused? Would people stop studying together to enter into the text and instead just go look it up online? Would they stop opening the books themselves? Would people, God forbid, not need rabbis anymore, whose entire profession is based on teaching the sacred text? What has happened instead is that Sefaria has greatly enhanced Jewish learning worldwide and brought great Jewish texts within easy reach to help rabbis teach and students learn. But you know, AI seems different. It feels like a golem, that 16th century monster of Jewish folklore. The golem was made out of mud from the Vltava River in Prague by Rabbi Judah Low, according to the legend. And the goal was to create a being to defend the Jewish people from their enemies, but the golem went out of control and had to be stopped. With AI, perhaps our greatest fear is that it will take over and human agency and human originality will be lost. Maybe we won't even be able to tell what is real and what is computer generated. The New York Times reported about how college admissions offices and professors are already dealing with AI-generated writing. Prospective students are using it for college essays, and students are using it to write papers. A student can just type in a few facts about themselves and what they focused on in high school, And ChatGPT or one of the other models can quickly spit out an essay or an answer to a college application question. Entire term papers can be created by giving the AI the AI source the topic. Colleges and high schools are already putting in place requirements for students to show that they have to show their writing process in addition to turning in the paper in order to weed out this kind of technological cheating, if you will. The New York Times journalist Natasha Singer warned that we are ushering in an era of automated plagiarism. But on the positive side, she also offered that if students get help in kickstarting their thinking through AI, we can also look at it as democratized student access to essay writing help. You know, some students have college application coaches and have the means to pay for tutors to help them get through their college papers. If AI is used as a first step to get the juices flowing or as a way to see grammar and punctuation mistakes, AI could be a way for students without the means to get this kind of writing support. However, with AI soon to become ubiquitous, we must work to safeguard fundamental human values that it could threaten. In an article in The Atlantic, Adrienne LaFrance recalled that in the 19th century, fear of industrialization and the mechanized age gave rise to Emerson and Thoreau and transcendentalism. In today's soon-to-be AI-infused society, she mused that perhaps we need a movement like that to reprioritize human connection. She worries that AI will supercharge our abilities but dampen our curiosity. There are already people whose entire social life is online. What if AI makes it possible for someone to have all of their primary relationships be with artificial humans? All the more reason to come together in person more often for real connection and conversation, where we spend enough time to build true interaction, friendship, touch, and love. Enough texting. I mean, I use it too. But call somebody and have a conversation. Or better yet, take a walk or meet for coffee. Enough of online prayer communities where talking to each other is relegated to 5 minutes of superficial chit-chat before or after the main event. And we're still streaming right now, and we'll continue to stream. You know, Zoom was great when we needed it, but we're going to go back now at Beth Hillel to in-person services every week. And I hope everyone will make an effort to be here and to come early and be in community with others at the pre-ONEGs. And yes, Zoom Torah study is very convenient, but something is lost about the quality of the conversation when we do not sit with the books in front of us and actually see each other across the table. Starting in November, we will be back to in-person Torah study on the first Saturday of the month, and you can still join in Zoom, but I highly encourage us, come back to the room. Maybe we can even build it back into a twice-a-month in-person, like the good old pre-COVID days. I challenge us to try. Can we imagine a future where an AI rabbi is leading services or Torah study? Will we rely on AI guest speakers? It might be a good way to get coverage when the in-the-flesh rabbi is out of town, or save on costs to bring in a program. Perhaps this is not what AI will bring us, but we can take comfort in knowing that all of the past communication technologies that humans feared have overall been good for the Jews. Moses' followers were able to reread what he said that was so inspiring because they embraced the new technology of writing on a scroll. And we are still getting inspiration from that scroll today. We do not know what inspiration will derive from AI, but it will undoubtedly be good for the Jews if we strive to prioritize human connection, coming together in the same space for study, prayer, and community today, next year, and forever into the future. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so. We continue now with Aleinu in the Gold Book on page 89, I believe, and with the sheet that no, 89 is not right. I will get it right for you. 79. 79, at the bottom of the page, you'll find the Hebrew and the transliteration, but I've given you a sheet with the music. I've written in the new words to this Aleinu, and with this new music, I thought it might help you to sing along. Please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach, la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula l'yotzer bereshit, shehu asanu l'shomrei ha'adama, vehu samanu l'shlichei ha'torah, shehu sam chayenu itam v'gora leinu im kol ha'olam va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please be seated. Page 80. And so, Adonai, our God, we look to you, hoping soon to behold the splendor of your power revealed. A world free of idolatry and false gods, a world growing more perfect through divine governance, a world in which all human beings make known your name, while those who do evil turn instead toward you. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We continue on page 85 as I read a meditation prior to the Kaddish prayer, and I invite those observing a yard site on this Shabbat or who have experienced the death of a dear one in recent weeks or months to rise during the meditation. Sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew out from the boundless deep turns again home. Twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. That's Tennyson. We will continue in a moment with the Kaddish, but those we remember on this Shabbat are Fanny Kahn, Seymour Flegel, Robert Sam Sentieri, Flora Zion, Esther Rostker, Henry Melcher, Harry Kraft, Morris Barnett, Max Meyer, Dr. Leslie Fay, Ilo Orleans, and Sam Cooper. Zichronam livracha, may their memories serve as a blessing. We turn to page 86 and all rise for Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imeru, Yehei shemei rabba mevarach l'alam u'lamei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imeru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us, and let us say amen. I'll just ask you to remain standing for another moment before we go to the announcements. Turning to page 91. Baruch atah Adonai shomea teruah. Blessed are you, Adonai, who hears the sounding of the shofar. We blow it during the month of Elul to prepare ourselves for the coming year. Tekiah. You may be seated. We call upon Jim Shapiro from our Leadership Council to share a welcome message.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
On behalf of the Leadership Council of Beth Hillel Temple, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all who have joined us this Shabbat, whether in person or on the live stream. Boy, I thought I was talking loud enough. Tomorrow night is the mood-setting Shlichot service that helps prepare us for the coming new year. It begins at 8 p.m. There's a film and a potluck dinner preceding. You can still join. Please bring something to share at the potluck if you can. Please remember to sign up any guest you may be bringing to High Holy Day services. You can do so online or by calling the office before next Friday. For security reasons, we need to know who will be there. Other temple information is found on the temple website. An e-news with current information was sent on Thursday.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. And our closing song will be Adon Olam, and you can find it in this little gold book on page 93. And just remind everyone again that we do not have an oneg afterward tonight. It was before. So we'll be quickly closing up the building and heading out. And I'm out of practice turning on the lights on those windows because they need to go on when it gets dark. So sorry it's so dark over there. Try to get all my upstairs patterns back in place. Adon Olam. This is the French Sephardic version that you'll be hearing on Erev Rosh Hashanah when Orit and I sing it in two-part harmony. So I'll sing both the parts at some point tonight, and you can pick which part you want to sing. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Na'asa B'chefzo Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Azai Melech Shemo Nikra ואחרי ככלות הכל ועדו ימלוך נורא והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא יהיה בתפארה. Here's the higher part. והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו, להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, ולא העוז והמשרה. והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבלי, בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. Okay, pick your part. We'll go to the last verse. בידו אבקירוכי, בעת אישן ואירה, באמרוכי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא אירה, אדוני לי ולא אירה. Shabbat Shalom.